Okay, I'm here with Matt Pattison, who's a feed grains trader at PentAG Nidera. Patto, corn markets are historic highs. Australian feed grain markets are very solid. What's driven us here and what are the risks?
Pete, we've been driven to these numbers by the massive drought that's been happening in the United States. They've had really a once-in-a-generation event over there in the past 2 or 3 months that's seen their corn crop lose probably 30% of its potential, which really is a massive amount of grain to lose out of world markets. So that's driven US corn values from close to $5 a bushel back in May to up over $8 a bushel now. So we've seen the US price rally some 60% from where it was just 3 months ago.
Okay, so we're at these high levels, Patto. What's your view on speculator length, technical levels? Can we go higher from here?
I think generally speaking, Pete, the whole market seems to be quite long at the moment, so that is in fact a bit of a risk. The bullish story has been well known now for 2 or 3 months. Most people, I think, are on the right side of it. Perhaps the only people who've been short this market have been the consumer. But like all markets where you've got most participants heavily geared to one side, markets are prone to setbacks. In the past probably 4 or 5 weeks we've been trading a pretty tight range. Corn's been trading in that $7.80 to $8.40 range for probably 3 or 4 weeks now. There's a USDA report coming out in another 2 weeks which should give us a clearer idea of what the US corn crop could be. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a setback leading into that report. That's not unusual to see when most people are on the same side of the market leading into big reports.
You mentioned that consumers aren't particularly well covered. There's been a lot of talk about demand destruction. In this sort of environment where there's not a lot of coverage, do you think that demand destruction is something we should be worried about?
Perhaps in the long term. It is something that we need to see. And the function of the market when you have these big supply shocks is to ration demand. We've seen feed grains consumers right around the world stop buying further out the curve. They're really only buying hand to mouth. That's usually a very good indication that feeding grain at these levels is not profitable. Consumers aren't in a rush to lock in prices that don't make them any money. So in the long term, the impact of that is to ration demand. And quite frankly, that's what the market needs. The market needs a prolonged period of demand rationing. So the fact that the market is so tight, I think will insulate us to some extent from a massive price drop. I really don't think over the next 6 to 12 months the market can afford for prices to go back to where they were. The function of the market really is to ration demand for the next 12 months until supplies are then reinstated next year, hopefully return to average seasons.
In terms of supply being reinstated, what do you think the Australian sorghum grower does from here, or summer crop grower?
Look, obviously we're at a crucial stage now. We need to start and see some rain to start and plant our summer crops. The Weather Bureau keeps telling us that we're at the start of an El Nino period, which will be interesting to see whether or not that has a negative impact on our summer crop production. I do think, largely speaking though, that there is reasonable profiles of moisture throughout the summer cropping belt, so we really only need a bit of an initial rain to get the ball rolling, and I think we hopefully then could be off to a good season. Hopefully we see some in-crop rain, but I certainly think the potential's there for a reasonable to above average summer crop production here in northeastern Australia.
And just because it's a crop that's in the ground now, I know that wheat is not the commodity that you're trading, but any views on the Australian wheat crop that you'd like to share?
It needs rain. The Australian wheat crop probably has got a little bit smaller here in the last month. I think if you go back a month or so, a lot of industry people were talking a 23 million tonne production. We're probably now leaning back towards 21. If we don't get any rain in the next few weeks right across the cropping belt in Australia, I think you'll start to see people talk about numbers closer to 20 million tonnes. So really September's always been the crucial month for Australian winter crop production, and this September's shaping up as no different.
Thanks, Patto. That's absolutely terrific from PentAG Nidera HQ. I only counted 1 and 2 ers. Well done, mate.